Okay, welcome to my YouTube channel, Menopause, Bodybuilding and Me. We have today, well, I have today, I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Nichola Conlan. She is the founder of Nuchido and the product Time Plus, which is NAD. So I'm going to pass over to Nichola and she's going to introduce herself, give you a wee bit more background into how she's come about to do this. And yes, on you go, Nichola.
Thank you so much. And it is so wonderful to join you. And yeah, so I'm Dr. Nichola Conlan, and I am a scientist, and I specialize in the science behind what is going on in our cells as we get older. Because we know that everything that we experience in terms of aging, we tend to see it at the surface level, or we tend to feel it. But ultimately, all of the root causes of aging are actually things that are going on deep down at a cellular level. So what I specialize is what is going wrong at the cellular level, and I guess more importantly, how we can actually fix that. And I'm the founder of Nuchido Laboratories. But prior to starting that company, I actually worked in drug development. And in drug development, my role was actually to develop drugs that will slow our rate of cellular aging, which sounds pretty crazy, but actually is a huge area of research now, because we know that aging is our biggest risk factor for pretty much every disease that drugs companies are trying to target. So the issue with drug development was that it takes a very long time to get anything to market. And actually, there's a lot of natural ingredients that are continuously being discovered that drugs companies aren't interested in because they can't patent and own them. So even it doesn't matter how well they work, they will go in the bin. So I founded Nuchido to basically say, well, let's do something with those more natural molecules, those things that are regulated for supplements, and let's give them the research and science they deserve. So our mission is all about how can we translate the latest science in aging research, but into products that people can actually access and benefit from now.
Amazing. That's so, and you know as well, with it being more of a natural product as well, it's so much better than just being a drug, because I think people just get so used to kind of going to the pharmacy and going, oh, can I have this for this and this for this, and they forget to kind of look at a more natural product, you know. So I think personally that a natural path is so much better as well.
Yeah, and I think, when you think about it, the body has absolutely no idea what the difference is between a
Yeah.
drug, a supplement, or a nutrient. It doesn't, when you take something, your body doesn't go, oh, this is a drug, so it must work better. And oh, this is just some sort of flavonoid from your salad, so that can't work. Actually, everything has an equally powerful physiological effect in the body. It's just that some regulatory body put one thing on a list that said it was a drug, and one thing that said it was a supplement. And unfortunately, that means that people kind of have the mindset that if it's not a drug, then it probably doesn't do anything, and that's so far from the truth. Working in drug development, the things that always came out top in our screening were not drugs; they were natural things out of food.
Wow, that's so amazing. But it is mindset, because people are told that drugs will work, do you know, they will help you get better. And they kind of poo-poo the kind of plant-based supplements or whatever, because they're like, well, that's a natural herbal remedy. That's, there's no way that can be as powerful as this drug I'm trying to give you. But I guess as
Exactly.
well, it's quite a big financial thing as well for drug companies to obviously push their uh, drugs and things like that. So,
Yeah, it's
but
entirely
yeah,
commercial.
yes. I'm just going to get rid of this off my wee screen. Okay, so how long ago did you start Nuchido?
So I founded it in 2017.
Wow.
So quite a while ago now.
Yeah, you're doing really well, actually. When I came across, I was watching your, I think it was a live with Kate Roham, when it was
Oh,
the
yes,
menopause
yes.
month, and that's where I first heard about you and saw you, and I was just like totally, you know, when something just resonates with you and grasps your attention, and I was like, oh, I need to, you know, speak to you a bit more and find out a bit more about this, because it was just so interesting. And I guess with being in the fitness industry for quite a long time, you were talking about things that I knew about, like the mitochondria being powerhouses, and you know that just takes you back to your studying and even school when you're learning your biology.
Yeah.
And just all that, and I was just like so engrossed, and I was like, oh, I definitely have to learn about this. And I have to say, I was so impressed with what you were saying, and because you don't actually think about yourselves inside you aging before your age, do you know? And that is, you know, one of the big things that I just found so interesting, and I thought, oh, I have to find out about this a bit more. Because obviously exercise is great for your body, but too much exercise is, you know, quite bad for your body. So you have to find that balance. So do you want to talk a wee bit about biological age, or do you want to go into NAD first? What would you like to chat about?
Yeah, I think, you know, as you've touched on it, biological age is a bit of a new concept, even in the world of science. So everybody knows about the chronological age. That's just, you know, your birthday, how long you've been on the earth for, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
But your biological age is actually the age at which you are on the inside. So how well your cells are aging. And
Mm,
that's way more important because it's known to be a much better predictor of future health than your chronological age. And this
yeah,
is because what we found is that sometimes, or in a lot of cases, people's chronological age doesn't quite tie up with the biological age. So, for example, someone could be biologically age 40, but chronologically age 40, but when you look at their biological age, it might be more like 50. And
yeah,
that's bad because that shows that internally they're aging and they have a lot more damage than they should, and they're aging faster. On the flip side, you know, you do see people that have a lower biological age, and you know that shows that they're aging better than they should be.
yeah,
But I guess, you know, it's really interesting to see, you know, what's going on the inside. But for us scientists, what this really demonstrated to us is that there's something going on inside our cells that's either speeding up aging or slowing it down, because otherwise everybody's biological age should be correlating with the chronological age exactly, but it's not. So something must be going on at a cellular level. So that led to a lot of research to try and work out, well, what is going on at the cellular level to cause this? And what we found is that there are basically 12 key things that go wrong in our cells as we get older. That cause different processes to become dysregulated. It causes an accumulation of damage and dysfunction. And ultimately, all of these cellular processes then turn into everything that we experience, that we can actually
yeah.
feel and see. So there's been a lot of interest in, okay, we now understand a lot more about what is causing aging at the cellular level, but is there anything that we can actually do to maybe slow it or fix it? And that's when NAD came about. You know, and this is something that I know you have a great interest in.
I do, I do. It's just such a, once you learn about it, you're just like, oh my God, like I didn't know really about the NAD at all until you, well, I spoke to you, or I spoke to Lucy actually at Nichido, and you know, we really went into depth about it, and it was just so, it's such a fundamental part of our lives. Do you know? Because if I'm right in remembering, if we didn't have NAD in our bodies, we would literally live no longer than 30 seconds. Is that right?
That's
Which,
exactly right.
that is like dumbfounding. Do you know? I don't think
Yeah.
anybody realizes how important this little molecule is to our bodies and how we live.
Yeah, I always say that it's probably one of the most important molecules that you've never actually heard of,
Yeah.
um, because it's absolutely critical. And the reason that it is so critical is firstly, it's involved in over 500 different reactions in our body. So, you know, if it suddenly disappears, there's a big problem because they're not going to work anymore. I guess the two main things that NAD is known for and are known to be really, really important is firstly energy production. So this is in our mitochondria, the cycle that actually takes the food that we eat and converts it into energy in the form of ATP, that all our cells, all our muscles, every single function in our body depends on. And without NAD, that cycle would not happen. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why you would be dead in 30 seconds, because our mitochondria literally would not be able to produce energy without NAD to power that cycle. The other thing that's really interesting, and that's actually, you know, been more researched recently, is the fact that NAD also seems to act as a signaling molecule in our cells, to tell a cell to switch on a lot of cellular repair processes.
Right.
So yeah, so generally, as a rule of thumb, if you have high NAD levels, it means that you've got really good efficient energy production and the cell's got lots of energy to perform all its functions, and also that repair is switched on. So your cells are continuously working to make sure that there's no damage building up or anything like that. So the issue that we'll have is that we now know that NAD declines as we get older. And that means energy production goes down. It means repair gets turned down. And both of these things mean that our cells start to suffer from damage, which accumulates. And then this damage then presents as the sort of signs and symptoms of aging. So a lot of scientists said, okay, if we've got this molecule, it's super important, and actually it declines with age, then what happens if we just don't let it decline with age? What happens if we like top it back up, or you know, make sure it doesn't go down? So there was a lot of investigation and research about ways to do this, and essentially what people found was that if you kept NAD high, it basically reduce the risk of so many age-related diseases, and also so many conditions associated with aging, like a lack of energy, brain fog, you know, lack of recovery, repair, in what we would just generally describe as an improvement to our health span, which is the sort of proportion of your life that you live in good health, as opposed to the current situation that a lot of people are in, where, you know, they maybe get to their 60s and then everything starts to go downhill and end up with multiple diseases and, you know, not being able to live a fulfilled and independent life. What you see with NAD in all the studies is that it seems to extend that period that we're healthy for, that health span.
Yeah, that's great. Now, am I right in remembering as well that, is it by 50% our NAD levels decrease every 20 years? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that. So even from birth to 20, we've lost half of our NAD. And then from
That's
20 to
amazing, isn't it?
40, that's halved again. And this is why when you look at a graph, it really, you know, it's quite
Yeah.
worrying.
Yes, it is. And then I suppose for menopausal women, it's like a double hit, because obviously our estrogen levels are declining as well. And then on top of that, we've got our declining NAD levels. So therefore, we are going to suffer tenfold, really.
Yeah, so that it's almost, you said during menopause for women, it is like the perfect storm. And you know, it makes a lot of the sort of symptoms makes more sense. So, you know, take classic symptoms of menopause. You've got fatigue, you know, feeling really knackered all the time. So we know that estrogen is declining, and we know that estrogen is incredibly important for mitochondrial function. So the mitochondria have lots of little receptors on them for estrogen. So when estrogen suddenly disappears, that's not activated and the mitochondria can't function as well. Now, at exactly the same time, you've also got low NAD, which is also meaning that your mitochondria aren't functioning as well. So this is why women can very suddenly think, oh my goodness, like where has my energy gone? And that's just not physical energy, that's also mental energy. So brain fog is a huge symptom, you know, and can be
I
really
suffer really
scary.
badly from brain fog. That's like my number one symptom, I would say, is honestly. I could be talking to you, I'll probably do it on this if I haven't already, and I'll be like searching for words because I just cannot remember it because it's just so intense. It's like
and it's, you know, it's everything from not being able to find your words to forgetting, you know, going into the supermarket and thinking, what on earth should I come in here for? Forgetting people's names that you've known for a long time and being like so embarrassed because you're like, I should not have forgot your name. but it, you know, and it can be really worrying because it can happen quite suddenly. And a lot of women think, oh my goodness, like, is this Alzheimer's? Like, you know, what is actually going on with my brain? Why is it so bad? But
Yeah.
basically, your brain needs a lot of energy. So you've got like 2 billion neurons in your brain, and each neuron has like 2 million mitochondria. And each
Yeah.
of those are all dependent on both estrogen and NAD, and both of those things are declining. So you can see quite quickly how that's going to really impact
Yeah.
your cognitive function.
Uh-huh.
And it's estimated that that cognitive function in terms of the energy produced by your brain declines by up to 25% during menopause. So that's like
Wow.
losing a quarter of your brain function.
Yeah. And that's quite
And
scary, that.
yeah, and it can happen quickly as well, which is the even more worrying thing.
Uh-huh.
So basically, like, thinking about you know, those two symptoms, it makes, you know, perfect sense of, okay, there's obviously all of the sort of standard things that you can be doing during menopause, like HRT and you know, other things like that, but also making sure that you're boosting your NAD levels is also going to benefit. So research in the area of NAD has become, you know, really interesting in terms of menopause and menopause symptoms.
Yeah. And also, something that you had said that I was like, absolutely, was you want to treat the root cause. You know,
Yeah.
it's all very well taking a collagen supplement or a magnesium supplement or something, but if you can treat the root cause, which is your decline in levels of NAD, to help your mitochondria and every other function over the 500 other functions that it does in the body, then why would you not? You know, to me it just makes perfect sense. And yeah, I definitely think it's the way to go, especially for menopausal women that suffer from so many different symptoms. But
Mm.
I can definitely clarify that the NAD has helped my brain fog. So I've done a trial for a month, and then I came off it just to see. And honestly, actually, I can even say within the 2 weeks, I noticed a massive difference. And it was like, before I was like, oh, I've got X, Y, and Z to do today, but I would just do
Mm.
X. Whereas when I was on the NAD and I was taking it every day, I was like, oh, I've got all these things to do, and I'd get them done, and then I'd plan for the next day and knowing what I was doing the next day, which I
Yeah.
was like, oh. And I was just feeling everything was like slotting back into place instead of feeling this like grogginess and this kind of tiredness all the time. And it was, you know, I was like, wow, this is really good. And now I've come off it just the last week or so, and I was saying to my friend the other day, we went a walk, and I was like, oh my God, my brain fog is back like a cloud.
Yeah.
So I can definitely say it works, and it is very, very good and quick, because normally as well, you have to take supplements for, they say, at least 3 months, you know, 12 weeks
Yeah.
or so to see a difference. But with NAD, it's within what, 14 to 16 days. And I honestly can say, yeah, it does. You can see the difference within that time frame.
Yeah, so we've actually done, unlike a lot of supplements that don't have any testing on them, we've actually done a clinical trial on our product, a double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial.
Oh,
Because of my background in drug development, I was really keen that I, you know, want to get good data and good studies done on it. And we actually found, you know, within even within 7 days, you can see NAD going up in the blood of people. And so in people where they really do have a deficiency, you know, due to being a particular age, or, you know, combined with menopause, they really do have a deficiency in NAD. So any increase in NAD does have a big effect. And I know we have a lot of customers who say, wow, I didn't actually realize how well it was working until I stopped taking it. And then I
yeah.
realized I was like, it
Oh
was
my
like a
God.
cloud had just come back again, and hadn't realized how bad it had been. But
Yeah.
it's quite funny when lots of people say the same sort of words. And also the energy, just, you know, saying, I just got that get up and go again. And, you know, I
Yeah.
don't feel knackered all the time.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so our product's basically designed to switch NAD production back on, because it's probably fair to point out that, you know, you can't just take pure NAD. So that, you know, when people were trying different ways to boost NAD, it was realized that actually NAD is really big and unstable, and it doesn't get to where it needs to be in the body.
For being a
So
molecule, it's quite a large molecule, isn't it? So it can't
it
kind of
is
penetrate the
it's a
cell
large
membrane.
molecule and it's
Yeah.
charged, so it can't get into cell membranes. So yeah, you just can't take it orally, although you'll see things popping up on Amazon saying, you know, NAD supplement, and they just don't work. Another quite common form of supplement are what are called precursors, such as NMN or NR. And these are essentially the raw materials that your body uses to make NAD. And for a long while, it was thought, okay, if you've got a shortage of NAD, then we'll just pop more of the raw material, you know, we'll take more of the precursors and hopefully it'll turn them into NAD. But it's now known that actually the reason NAD declines is because the enzyme that actually turns the precursors into NAD declines with age. So you can take as much as you want, but if you don't have that pathway working, you really don't elevate your NAD very much. So what our product does is it switches back on natural NAD production. So it fixes that enzyme in the cell that naturally produces NAD when you're younger.
That's amazing.
So again, addressing the root cause and not ignoring it.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
is the important bit.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a little recycling pathway, isn't it? It's called the salvage pathway to
Yes.
kind of cycle the elements of the NAD back into NAD. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So our bodies are actually very good at making their own NAD. And basically what happens is when NAD is used up for repair or energy production or whatever, it's broken back down into its precursor building blocks. And then what the cell does is it has an enzyme that basically sticks these back together into whole NAD again. So the cell, it means, you know, no matter what the demand for NAD is, it always is self-sustaining because it just keeps recycling it. Once it's used up, it's broken down, it's recycled. And that's in young cells. But that recycling pathway breaks down in older cells because that enzyme just starts to basically disappear from our cells. So if you can switch that enzyme back on, you can, you know, get youthful levels of NAD production and recycling going again, which means that, you know, it's then available for all the beneficial processes.
Cool. So what are the ingredients in your Time Plus to make that happen then?
Yeah, so it's got multiple different ingredients in there. And again, reflecting the fact that actually NAD is quite complex. So I know we've just spoke there about one of the main reasons NAD declines is because of the decline in this enzyme, but there's actually multiple other things that are causing NAD decline as well. A big one is inflammation in our bodies as we get older. There's certain inflammatory processes that basically eat up NAD and waste it. So we've got ingredients in there that inhibit that. There's other processes that go wrong in our cell to do with methylation, which start to sort of get rid of NAD unnecessarily. So it's all natural ingredients. So just a quick run through of them. We've got something called Sophora japonica, which contains quercetin. And this is an NAMPT activator. So that's the enzyme that makes and recycles NAD. We've also got alpha lipoic acid, that also activates that key enzyme, but via a slightly different route. We've also got green tea extract because this contains a really powerful ingredient called EGCG. This is one that came up in the drug screening all the time. So drink your green tea. And basically that inhibits that methylation process. That's other strange one that people go, oh, why is that in it? Is parsley powder. And the reason that's in it is because it contains a high amount of an active ingredient called apigenin. And apigenin inhibits the inflammatory process that actually eats a lot of our NAD as we get older. The other thing to point out would be the nicotinamide. So that's a vitamin B3 derivative. And that's actually the preferred precursor that the body uses to make NAD.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So they're kind of like the main actives.
Yeah, it's amazing how basically plants can make you well, because people don't really, they go, Yeah, okay. Like I was talking to my mum and dad about it. Now they are of the older generation, and my mum was like,
Mm.
"Well, I'm never really sure about these supplements." And I was like, "No," but and I kind of reeled them all off, and I went, "Well, this has got this, and this is why it's helping."
Mhm.
But they're older, and they kind of are a bit like, "Well, I don't know about the supplement thing." And I'm
That,
like, "What?"
that's just that generation. I always
Yes.
laugh and tell a joke of how it took ages to convince my own parents to take it. I think they thought I was gonna poison them or something. But now, like, if they don't have their supply, they're like knocking on my door, like, Nichola,
Yeah.
like, we've run
Any
out.
Yeah, I know. And then I was telling one of my other friends, and she was amazed by it as well. So she was just straight on and ordering it, and I was like, "Oh, well done, you." I'm very proud of you for doing that because you will find a difference, I promise. So moving on from the menopause side of things, and obviously exercise is good for your body because your body does like a wee bit stress. Am
Mhm.
I right in saying that? However, bodybuilding, which I am part of the bodybuilding world, we train really, really hard. So we are probably pushing it to the other extremes. And again, whilst I was taking the NAD, I honestly did find a difference in my joints, especially my knees, because my knees have always been a wee bit dodgy. But as I'm getting older, they're obviously getting worse, and quite achy at times. And obviously, it's probably a bit of my perimenopause symptoms as well. And whilst I was on the NAD, what a difference! Like, sometimes my knees were just like perfect. They weren't achy at all. I would go out, I would be walking up hills or whatever, or at the gym doing my leg presses, quite heavy and like having no pain. And then, as I was saying, coming off it just the last week or so, and oh, my achy knees are back, and I'm like, yeah, we do need to address these. So
Yeah.
it's just proof that the NAD is definitely a necessity for our bodies, especially if we're putting it under a lot of stress.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a fine balance with exercise. So I think what you referred to is that a little bit of stress is good. This is a concept called hormesis. And this basically, when we exercise, it puts an energy stress on our cells. And basically this energy stress signals that, okay, there's a little bit of stress going on. And what we need is the body and the cells to start upregulating pathways that are going to protect ourselves from the stress and allow us to survive it. And it's an evolutionary thing. If you think about it, it'd be when we're like, chasing our food and hunting and, not going for days without eating. So there's a balance though. So whilst it's good to activate that, as you mentioned, really intense training seen in athletes, can actually sometimes drive inflammation in the body. And one of the things that NAD actually helps with is dealing with that inflammation. So
Mhm.
in our clinical study that we did, we actually looked at inflammatory cytokines, and we found that it significantly reduced inflammatory cytokines. So that's probably why you're feeling a benefit, especially in your joints, because we know like a lot of joint issues can be caused by inflammation. And then just in terms of recovery, so NAD is known to be critical in muscle function and repair. So every time you're training, you're damaging your muscles, that.
Yeah,
That's how they grow.
yeah.
But the way that our bodies actually repair the damage from training to grow our muscles is they call upon a pool of stem cells, muscle stem cells, that are called satellite cells. So basically you go to the gym, you damage your muscles, the muscle says we need to repair this and grow. It calls upon the stem cells, and the stem cells then build and grow and reproduce the muscle. But we know, again, as we get older, that this pool of muscle stem cells becomes depleted, which means, firstly, you stop seeing as much gain as you did when you were younger. And secondly, the recovery times are also more prolonged. Now, studies have been done with NAD looking specifically at muscle, and have showed a couple of things. The first thing that they've shown is that NAD actually increases the number, not just the number, but also the quality of mitochondria in the muscle, which obviously that is producing all of the power that your muscles need. So boosting NAD is great for helping maintain the power, the strength, and also the stamina in the muscles. The other thing is that NAD actually increases the quality and the number of those stem cells. So that actually your body has that availability of stem cells to call upon to actually repair the damage. And in one study that was done, the results were so amazing that you literally could not tell the difference between the young muscle cells and the old muscle cells after they'd been treated with NAD. It was like they looked completely young again.
That's amazing.
So yeah, there's a lot of evidence to show the benefit of actually, boosting and maintaining NAD, in people that are training a lot, and athletes essentially.
Oh God, that is so amazing. And I really do hope some of the bodybuilding community take this on, because obviously, as you say, we do put our bodies under a lot of stress, and we are wanting to maintain our health as best we can, and also our muscle mass and everything like that. So, if this is a natural product that we can use, that would be absolutely amazing, so yeah, it's just, this one just dumbfounds me. I love this whole, I could chat about this all day, honestly. I literally, when I was walking,
sometimes
carry
I
on.
always say sometimes NAD almost sounds a little bit too good to be true. Like it's got all, it does this, it does that. And it's like, yeah, does it really? But when you think about it, it's in every cell. It's involved in the most critical cellular processes. And we really feel it when it declines. Therefore, it's really no surprise that when you top it back up again, that you actually do get all of these benefits.
Yeah, I know, it's absolutely amazing. So it is. And I was walking with my friend yesterday, and I've not seen her for a while because obviously I've been abroad and I've just back. So we're, chatting, catching up, and then I just went off on this whole, oh my goodness, you need to know about this NAD. And I was like, chat, 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 telling her all about it. And she was like, wow, wow. Because she's a bit older as well, she's in her 60s. And she was like, oh, so that sounds really good. And I was like, honestly, it'll help you so much. And I just was, telling her all the benefits. But anyway, now we have it here. Hopefully people can come and refer to it all the time and
No,
go,
and
oh, she's
that's
not just
good.
making it up.
No, do you know what? It's good because, my whole mission when I founded my company was, as a scientist, I was always exposed to amazing scientific breakthroughs. And it was always so frustrating for me that it was going to take years and years before, everyday people could actually learn about it and, more importantly, benefit for it. So that's why I started the company, which was to try and take that science and get it into consumer products that had good testing and credibility behind them, so people could actually use them, but also to educate people. Because, when it comes to aging, a lot of people are very like, oh, it's just this natural thing. There's nothing you can do about it, grow gracefully and all the rest of it. Because, if there's no better alternative, then, you just pretend it's all fine. When actually it's not. Aging's pretty
No,
rubbish.
it is,
And, if there
nobody
was an
wants to age.
alternative, would you want to? So, and I think that's what's really changed. The science now shows there really is an alternative. There really are things that you could be doing that have really good science behind them and are actually really effective. But not enough people know about it. So please continue to keep shouting about it.
Yes, I will. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, and I hope we have enlightened everybody slightly on the NAD. If you have any questions, please just pop them over to me, and if I can't answer them, I will message Nichola and we will definitely try and get your questions answered. In the meantime, if you want to purchase some Time Plus, please go to Nuchido. So it's nuchido.com. Now, I'm just going to tell them as well what Nuchido stands for. That means the path of longevity,
Yeah.
which I just think is an amazing name. So life expectancy, let's keep it going. And yes, if you go onto nuchido.com, you can order yours. You can use my code FLICK20 and that'll get you 20% off your first order. And thank you once again, Nichola, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. It's been great to chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Speak soon.